Finding a remote job in 2023 is almost impossible. But here's how remote work is going to make its big comeback. My name is Joel Laugi, and I've been in the recruitment space for coming up to a decade. You can go verify me on LinkedIn, where I've got 200,000 followers. To understand how remote work is going to make a comeback, you need to understand why remote work stayed around as long as it did. If you recall, most companies went fully remote because of COVID. They literally couldn't have people back in the office, so the only way to keep the business going was remote work. Companies didn't care about giving you flexibility. They didn't care about your work-life balance. It has nothing to do with you. The reason it stayed around so long is because if you ask any recruiter, the first question that candidates would ask is this role remote? If you said no, they were already done with the conversation. Then if it came down to an offer situation and you had two positions that were fully remote and one that was in the office, they didn't even consider the in-office role. It always came down to the two fully remote positions. If you had 3 job offers, 2 were in the office and 1 was fully remote, the fully remote job would win. So companies looked at that and said, we have to offer fully remote work. That's how we're going to be able to hire the top talent. Now, fast forward to 2023. We're seeing a lot of layoffs, a lot of instability in the market, a lot of uncertainty about the future. And suddenly companies are going, we're not hiring as much, which means there's a lot more applicants on the market, which means it's not as competitive for companies as it was in the past. In fact, it's more competitive now for candidates. So companies, again, not thinking about candidates at all, but thinking about themselves, said, well, we've got these office leases and we're paying them, so we might as well force people back to the office. This is going to do 2 things. We don't have to do layoffs because people will just quit. And number 2, it will weed down, because we're getting thousands of applicants, it will weed it down so we don't have to deal with as many applicants. This is because we're in what we call an employer market, meaning there are less jobs than there are open candidates on the market. Now, I know some genius is going to go, well, there's 1.6 open jobs for each US person. Yes, that is true if you consider working at Wendy's a job. When it comes to the jobs that people actually want and they actually want in their career, there is a shortage of those jobs because most companies are not in growth mode, they're in survival mode right now. So if you are hiring, you are one of the few companies that's hiring, which means you get all the applicants, which means you get to do whatever you want. Force people back to the office, hybrid, whatever you want to do, whatever works with your plans. So if we look to the future, as soon as the market starts to switch back to a candidate market, which it will, because that's how these things go, it's like a big pendulum, it will swing back to a candidate market, meaning companies are going to have a tough time hiring top talent. That, my friends, is where we will see remote work make its comeback. And it's really simple. Companies will go, wow, we just lost out on another offer because the other company offered remote work. Maybe we need to offer remote work so we can get better talent and more talent. And so when we switch back to a candidate market, because most candidates want remote work, okay, I do these polls on LinkedIn and I'll get 3,000 people respond, and most of them want remote work. Because of this, companies will be forced into offering remote work. If they can't hire somebody for 3 months locally, all they have to do is open up the talent pool, make it remote, and it makes hiring people easier. That's when we're going to see remote work make its comeback. So unfortunately, all of these companies that are forcing people back to the office, it's kind of working now, even though it's not working. If you look at Grindr, I think they had 50% of their people take severance instead of going back to the office. So it's really not working anyway. But it's somewhat working now enough to where they can keep things in the office or hybrid. But as soon as the candidate market comes back, they will be forced back into remote work. So if you're looking for a remote job right now, you might have to settle for hybrid, but I promise you it's a short-term thing. As soon as the market switches back, which it will, remote work will make its mighty comeback. Remember to tag me in this video, share it with me in a year and a half when everything goes back to being fully remote. And I will just like this video myself, but I promise you this is going to happen.